Alright, so Ian Garry beat Carlos Prates last night, and honestly, it pretty much went exactly how I thought it would for the most part. Like, I knew it was going to be competitive, but from the opening bell, you could just tell who the sharper fighter was. And it was Ian Garry, no question. He came out right away, chopping at the legs, snapping that jab, staying long, just making Prates look stuck at range. And look, I'll give Prates some credit, man, in a minute, because he does deserve it. But I gotta say this first. Carlos has never really been in there with a guy as well-rounded as Garry before, and in this fight, it showed. It showed that there's levels to this game, man. Every time Prates tried to get his offense going, Garry would either tag him with a clean shot or freeze him with a kick to the body or the lead leg. It was just textbook control. And listen, man, I know what some people are going to say. Well, Prates came back later. He came back in round 4 and 5. And yeah, that's true. He proved that he's legit. He's a real elite fighter. But at the same time, you saw some holes. Ian was able to expose some stuff, man. Carlos is still dangerous, no doubt. It's just when you let him dictate the pace, that's when he becomes a problem. If you back up and hesitate, he'll walk you down and he'll make it ugly real quick. But Garry didn't let him set that tone early, and that's why he controlled most of the fight. And listen, man, the thing is, Ian didn't let him dictate anything. He stayed sharp the entire time. It wasn't like he was just landing shots, it's how he was moving. Garry was consistently circling, consistently switching angles, never standing still in front of Prates where he could get teed off. Every time Carlos tried to load up, Garry was already sliding out, tagging him with the jab or chopping the legs to keep him honest. And that's really why Ian had so much success early. His footwork threw off Prates' timing completely. If Garry had just stayed on the center line and tried to bang it out, yeah, maybe Prates lands one of those bombs and changes the entire fight. But Garry stayed disciplined. He fought smart. And the other thing that helped him, volume, man. Ian was way more active. He wasn't just looking for one big moment. He kept touching Prates, kick after kick, jab after jab, straight right down the pipe. Meanwhile, Prates was standing there waiting for the perfect shot that never came. So even before the 4th and 5th round, where Prates started turning up the pressure, Garry already built a huge lead just by outworking him and keeping him stuck at range. But look, man, to be fair, Carlos Prates did start making adjustments later in the fight. In round 4, you could start feeling the momentum shifting a little bit. He started letting his hands go more, finding that jab, stepping into range with a little more confidence, and this is a big part of it too. You can see that Ian Garry started slowing down a little bit. The early high volume game plan, all the jabbing, all the kicks, all the movement. That kind of pace is going to tax your gas tank eventually, especially when you're trying to stay perfect for 25 minutes. And Prates, credit to him, he's dangerous, especially late. He's tough, durable, and when he's not tired, he can march you down and start making the fight feel real ugly. That's what happened in the 4th and 5th. Garry wasn't as light on his feet anymore. He was just getting clipped a little bit more. And honestly, that 5th round was scary, bro. There was a real moment where it looked like Prates could have pulled off a comeback. Because in that 5th round, Garry got caught. He hit the mat. He was crawling towards the fence and it looked bad for a second. But here's the thing, and this is why I'm giving Garry even more respect after watching it back. He never panicked. Even when it got sketchy, Garry stayed defensively sound. He was covering up, moving his head just enough to get back on his feet, tying up when he needed to. He did just enough to survive, not eat clean follow-up shots. Meanwhile, Prates, as dangerous as he is, didn't really fully empty that tank. He let Garry off the hook just a little bit. If he has gone crazy with the ground and pound, who knows what would have happened. And honestly, man, that's the part that's got sting for Carlos. He had Ian Garry hurt in the 5th round. He had him right there. Because like I mentioned, Garry was crawling to the fence, trying to survive, and instead of going for the kill, Prates kind of hesitated. He posted on him. Yeah, he was landing ground and pound, but he didn't fully unleash ground and pound when he needed to. And look, I get it. Prates was tired too. He had to work his way back into the fight. He took a lot of damage early, but if you want to beat someone like Ian Garry, you gotta empty the clip in those moments. You can't let a guy that good recover. And that's what happened. Prates let him off the hook, and Garry, being the smarter fighter that he is, took full advantage. And honestly, bro, you gotta give Ian Garry a lot of credit here. This wasn't just a good win. This was a really good win when you actually step back and think about it. He took this fight on what, like 25 days notice? No full camp, no big long prep, just jumped in there, made weight, fought 5 rounds against a guy that a lot of people thought could knock him out, and he still found a way to get it done. And yeah, it wasn't a flawless performance. He slowed down late, he got hurt, but bro, that's what fighting at the highest levels looks like sometimes. You're not gonna cruise every single time. The important thing is that he stayed composed, fought smart, and he got his hand raised. And honestly, I was impressed, man. I know a lot of people want to hate on Ian Garry, but you gotta give him his props. He beat a dangerous guy like Carlos Prates on short notice in a 5-round main event. That's not easy. And in my opinion, he's one more win from a title shot. One more big W, whether it's against a top 5 guy or maybe someone like Leon Edwards, and he's right in the mix. Now listen, as for Carlos Prates, I'll give him some props. He's good. He's dangerous. He proved that he's legit enough to hang in there with the top level guys. No doubt about it. But man, if we're going to be real, out of all the fighting nerds people want to hype up lately, Carlos Prates is the worst one out of the bunch, and it showed against Ian Garry. Bro, this guy has some real flaws, and they're not just little flaws you can just patch up overnight. They're fundamental issues that are going to cap how far you can really go at welterweight. I mean, first of all, the output. He just doesn't throw enough. Even when he had Garry hurt, he couldn't find that extra gear to empty the tank and go for the finish. And it wasn't because he was tired, it's the way he fights. He's always looking for the perfect shot, always trying to be clean, perfect, calculated. That's great when it works, but against a smart, disciplined guy, bro, you're gonna get out volume, out point, and sent back to the locker room wondering what happened. Second, the footwork and the cage control. When Ian was hurt and circling out, Carlos just stood there and watched him escape. No cutting the cage, no sprinting to trap him, no urgency to close the door and take his head off. He literally just let Garry reset over and over again. That's not what a future champ does, man. That's not what a killer does at 170. I mean, you give guys like Shavkat, Bilal, Sean Brady, you give those guys a hurt opponent, they're not letting you breathe. And third, it's the defensive reactions. Carlos gets frozen way too easily when you hit him clean or make him reset. He has that classic high guard, shell up style, and once you start mixing targets, head, body, legs, he gets stuck thinking instead of firing back. That's why Ian Garry was able to jab him so much, kick him, move away, and stay ahead. And in this weight class, bro, you're not going to survive against the elite just thinking you're going to pick the perfect counter every time. You got to have a plan B. You got to have a brawl mode. You got to have something to dig deep with. Carlos just doesn't have that switch right now. And that's why, even though I think he's talented, even though he's dangerous, I don't think Carlos Prates is ever going to be a UFC champion at 170. And yo, we got to talk about the grappling too, man, because yeah, I'll give him his flowers. Carlos Prates has good takedown defense, especially against the single leg. He defended that first shot really well. But if you actually watch how Ian Garry adjusted mid-fight, Garry realizes quick that the single leg wasn't getting it done. So he switched to the double and immediately started dragging Prates down way easier. That's a big red flag. If you can have a good single leg defense, but you can't defend doubles, trips, body locks, chain wrestling, bro, you are food in this division. There's too many good wrestlers at 170, and when Prates stuffs the initial shots, you could see he wasn't really trying to scramble aggressively or punish the attempts. He just stuffed it and reset. A guy like Shavkat, Bilal, Usman, they're not resetting. They're grabbing a second shot, a third shot. They're chaining it together. And if you don't have active hips and a good cage awareness, you're getting dragged down and mauled. Even when they got back up after scrambles, you notice that Prates just let Ian Garry circle out clean with no punishment, no knees on the brakes, no elbows in the clinch, no dirty boxing to make Garry pay for shooting. He kind of just let him off the hook every time. And again, that's not a small thing you can just work on in camp. That's a fight instinct thing. Champions punish those moments. Carlos just kind of coasts through them. And in this division, you coast, you lose. And honestly, if Carlos Prates doesn't fix these problems, especially the double leg defense and the scrambles, guys like Bilal Muhammad and Sean Brady are going to ragdoll him. It's not even up for debate. You can't coast and reset against a real grinder like that. They're chain wrestlers. They'll drag you down. They'll drown you. And if Carlos doesn't find a second gear, he's gonna get exposed real quick. Look, the hype around Carlos Prates is real to a certain extent. He's dangerous, he's got real knockout power, and he's gonna keep knocking guys out when the matchup favors him. But he's not some inevitable top 10 killer right now. He's not ready for the true elite yet, not with these flaws. And honestly, I think they should just rebook him against Jeff Neal like they originally planned. that fight still makes perfect sense, and it'll show us real fast whether Proteus can hang with top level pressure or if he's just gonna be another dangerous mid-tier guy.